Two, one. Hello, everybody. Yes, we are back in the big marathon. We are in the UK with Reverend Dr. Trevor Adams, right?
Yes.
And we did the part one, but for people who didn't see yet the part one or watch the part one, would you like to introduce yourself? And I do recommend you we go back to the part one for everybody who is watching, who is watching us. So we have the background, but please, would you like to start now? And we have many questions for you again.
No, thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me here again. It's such a privilege to be able to share. But I'm Reverend Dr. Trevor Adams, living in the United Kingdom. Grew up in the United Kingdom from age 7, but previously I was actually born in Guyana, South America, and came to Britain when I was age 7. And I work within education. I work with children, young people, families, adults. I just love education, and I think everyone should be able to have the benefit of education.
Yes, in part one, we talked about the way you reach. I mean, it's an amazing story. Please watch it again. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but and see how the way to PhD, and more than that, how you were autodidact, how you passed through so many situations. And I forgot to ask you about Tai Chi and martial arts. That's part of
Yeah,
education, right? Too.
yeah,
Would you like to
it
comment on
was.
that, please?
Yeah, my martial arts in my teenage years, I threw myself into martial arts, and I found that I was very good at it. And Bruce Lee was my idol, as he was for many of us at that particular time. And I found that I could, the martial arts developed developed me and disciplined me. It taught me self-discipline, which I use in terms of education. And I understood the importance of self-discipline. Now, when you're younger and you look at something like Tai Chi, you think, well, oh, it's so slow.
Hello.
It's so, it flows so slow. It's not like what you see in the films, all the action. And when you're young, you want all of the action stuff. Um, but uh,
That's
but
true.
then as you get older, you realize the wisdom that actually Tai Chi is very dynamic. It teaches you about that controlling your breathing, controlling your body. It teaches you how to think. It teaches you how to hold yourself upright, how your body is structured, and how the energy within your body can be utilized. So I teach it, and I have the privilege of teaching with elderly folks. Um, but I'm a teacher, but I'm first and foremost a learner, because the more that you do Tai Chi, is the more you realize that you need to learn. And that's what I love about it. It's something that can be done ongoing.
So that would be a good recommendation, like parents, teachers, and whoever is
Yes,
watching us, please consider martial arts for your children,
yes,
but for yourself, especially Tai Chi if you are
yes.
my age. Dr. Trevor, what about education? You mentioned once that education is linked to liberation, but you were talking of the liberation of the soul, and this is such a beautiful context. Can we start with this?
Yeah, I think when people think of education, they think of schooling and their experience
Grammar.
of schooling. And so many people are put off education because what they put off is schooling, but not education. When I explain to them, education does not mean schooling. Schooling is one way of providing education, but education comes from the word
Mhm.
educare, which means to bring out, to draw out, not to put in, but to draw out. It means then that each one of us, we have a particular leaning towards a gift or talent or an interest. It's just natural. You watch a child from a very young age, and you will be able to pick up what that child interest is, whether the child will use their left hand or their right hand, and how you work with what the child brings into the world. Because every child brings into the world something so precious for the world, for the world. So education, as I see it, is to draw out. In order for me to draw out, I've got to know you. I've got to know your interests. I've got to know your aspirations, your dream. What is it that you are interested in? But if we go back to ancient times, let's say we go back to the Egyptians, who were very dynamic educators. Um, they had the saying, know thyself, know thyself, know thyself. And they had that because the purpose of education was for the development of self, development of the self for a greater good,
Yeah.
for a greater good. It was personal, but it was also social. It wasn't just simply about me learning things, but learning things so that I can contribute to the greater good, the greater good. And so it meant then that what we call subjects, maths, science, um, all the things we call subjects, they understood those things as disciplines, not subjects, disciplines. So if, for example, if you are a teacher, that's your discipline. If you're a doctor, that's your discipline. And the reason why it's your discipline is because you have disciplined yourself in terms of the training, in terms of the education, to get to the place where you are now this. Okay. And so within within when we're talking about education, we have to be talking about the development of the individual for a greater good, enabling the individual to tap into their gifting, their talents, to bring their contribution to the world, their contribution to the world. And every single person that comes into the world comes in with gifting, talents, and abilities that education is designed to highlight, help them to develop, and help them to contribute to the world. Now, we talk about curriculum. And by the way, Naomi, lots of the words lots of words that are English words are actually French words, by the way. Did you know that? That
Some of them, yeah.
most words in English,
The fancy ones, and the few are French
yeah,
words.
yeah, most of the words, 60% plus words in English are French words, have their roots and origin in French. So if we take curriculum, for example, curriculum means life course, the course, your life course, your life course. And so we should be helping children to identify their gifting, their potential, and work with them on their life course. And so things like mathematics, things like science, it isn't about learning mathematics for the sake of learning mathematics, but mathematics should be taught so that you know yourself. Biology should be taught so that you know yourself. Geography should be taught so that you know yourself and how the environment in which you live in, how you're connected to your environment and the importance of your environment to yourself and to other people within the world. So we all come into the world with gifts and talents and abilities and skills that is dormant, that is buried. And so education is about being able to identify those gifts and to be able to draw those gifts out. And this is why when I go into the schools and I'm working with children who are not working to what the schools see as their potential, I take a totally different approach. And when I go into the school, the first thing I say to the child, why do you think I'm there? Why am I there? And they would often say to me, it's because of their behavior. It's because they're at risk of being excluded from school. It's all sorts of all the negative things that they see of themselves, that we have fed back to them as the system to tell them about themselves. And so what I do, I said to them, well, no, I don't work with children who misbehave. I don't work with children who get into trouble. I work with geniuses, children who are geniuses, but they don't know that they are geniuses. And I am come to draw out, to bring out that genius inside of you. And they look at me surprised because nobody's ever seen them as geniuses. They only see the ones who are at the top of the class, getting the high marks as geniuses. And then I began to teach them, you have a brain, you have a brain, that your brain is designed to learn. It's designed to learn. And once you know how your brain works, you can then begin to learn as much as you would like. And then I asked him, what do you, I asked, no, then I asked him, what problems do you see in the world? Yeah, what problems do you see in the world? And they would say to me, they see wars, they would see violence, they see people killing each other, they would see racism, okay, they see poverty, they see all of those things. And these are children, they're aware of their world. And then I said to them, if you had the power to change things, which one would you change? And they would tell me. They would tell me. So, for example, um, a child may say, well, I would change poverty. How would you change poverty? I will make sure that people have food. Or
Wow.
I would stop wars. How would you stop wars? Well, I would make sure that people become educated so that they, and so they tell me all
That's
of that.
brilliant because they reconnect with their purpose of life. Sorry I interrupt you, but
No,
I mean,
no,
this is so brilliant, so brilliant. You reconnect them with the purpose. So now they have
yes,
something to live for. And then the loop is back again. I mean,
yes,
the
very, very much
motivation
so.
and why I'm here and what I have to do.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
brilliant.
because the
Really,
soul looks for purpose. Look for
brilliant. That's
purpose.
the purpose of the soul.
Yes, the purpose. So look for purpose. Look for meaning in life. Meaning in life. So many children are in school and cannot see any connection. Why am I here? I'm here because my parents say I have to come here, or the government says I have to come here
And I have to.
and have to. So we look at purpose, the why, the reason why have you come into the world? We look at what is important to you. And then once I discover that, we then begin the journey. Okay, so what would you need to be able to be that person who can make that difference? Okay, and how do you think you will become that person who will make that difference? And then how could mathematics help you? How could science help you? How could geography help you? And they begin to start to work through those things and begin to link into the relevance of those disciplines to their life. So mathematics, for example, most people tend to think mathematics is about numbers. And I explain to no, mathematics is about logic, being able to think logically, okay, to be able to solve problems, think in a logical way. But mathematics is also a language. It's the language of science. You cannot do science without mathematics. And it's like, wow, sir, this is interesting. Why didn't anybody tell us this? Yeah, that mathematics. You are mathematics. What do you mean, sir? How many hands do you have? How many fingers do you have? How many eyes do you have? How many ears do you have? You are mathematics. Your world is mathematics. Okay, and mathematics isn't just about numbers. Mathematics is about shapes. Mathematics, you can use letters to understand about mathematics, your heartbeat, that's mathematics. And then we begin to look at teaching them about uh, the sciences, biology. You are biology. Biology is important so that you can know how to look after your body, look after yourself. And as you look after yourself, you know how to look after other people. And so they reconnect not only with their purpose, but a sense of purpose that I can make a difference to the world. There is a difference I can make. My voice is important. And this is where the liberation comes into it. Because up to that point where they realize that they've got a contribution that they can make, their potential is imprisoned. Their potential is imprisoned. They don't know why they're here. They don't know that they have a sense of purpose, and they don't know that they can make a difference to the world. You can make a difference to the world. You can make a difference to another person's life. And so once they begin to see into the bigger purpose, it gives them a sense of purpose. It gives them a drive. It gives them a resilience. And that comes from, Nomi, for me, learning about myself, learning that my grandmother instilled some principles in my life, not just for me, not just for me. If it was for me, when I die, that's it. It's finished. But she instilled the principle that I'm here to make a difference to the world. That's how big my vision, my dream needs to be, make a difference to the world. Now, making a difference to the world may be one person who then goes on to touch thousands of lives. But it's recognizing that there's a purpose that I have, and there is, and it's for me to now develop that purpose. So I now have to be my best teacher. I have to be my best teacher. I have to be able to teach myself now. So I'm not dependent on the teacher, but now I become the teacher. And this is where Paulo Freire.
I was
Um,
about to ask you, did you like Paulo
right.
Freire?
Yes, yes. I came across Paulo Freire's work on a training program that I went on called Training for Transformation. And I just love the idea of the teacher and the learner being both teacher and learner, being both teacher and learner. And I saw that when the young people one day in the class asked me, "Sir, you are saying to us we are geniuses, but are you a genius, sir? Are you a genius, sir?"
What did you
And
answer?
well, you know what? I had to think
That
before
was
I answered.
challenging.
Yes, because I'm thinking, well, what do I really believe about me? What do I truly believe about me? Because I believe something totally different for them. I could see their potential and I want to encourage their potential. But when it came to me, it was no. But one of the boys said, "Of course, sir is a genius. He is a genius." Okay. But, and this is where when I did my doctorate, it helped me to see that there's a genius in everyone, that everyone is born intelligent, but it's what we define by being intelligent. So I explained this to a young person. If you was in England, we measure intelligence in a particular way, but we use that definition for everyone around the world. But if you was in a desert and you had to survive, it doesn't matter
That's
how many
right.
letters you have in front of your name or behind your name. You are going to have to know how to survive in that environment. You have to be intelligent in that environment, because your learning and education elsewhere is not going to teach you how to survive in that environment. And in that way, we begin to value people. We begin to value what other people bring to us as human beings, their knowledge, their skills, their wisdom, their understanding, how it enriches us as human beings. Not for us to say, well, actually, my education is better than yours, but to say, well, actually, no, education was a gift to humanity. It's a gift to humanity. Education enshrined in the United Nations human rights, that every child is entitled to education. But then that isn't necessarily happening. And so millions of children are being excluded from the opportunity to have an education where they are able to bring out their potential. And that really is a shame for the world, because many of those children may have the solution to many of the world's problems. They may grow up to come up with the answers to many of the world problems. They may come into the world with a solution, and if we recognize the value of every child, we would then be able to see that this child may well have the solution to the problems that we are having.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I can't believe time is over again.
Wow, wow.
Maybe one day we will go to part three. But
I'm
to close this part at least, which is not closing because it's endless, but at least to finish with a message. In honor to your grandmother, would you like to send a message to the grandmother and the grandfather of the world? Because they are
yeah,
watching this program too, and they are very concerned about the future and their grandchildren.
yeah. To all grandmothers and grandfathers, don't think that because you are at your age, you don't have anything to give. You are at the age of wisdom, the age of wisdom, where your knowledge and your experience is what your grandchildren need. Your understanding of the world, what you have seen, what you have been through, because you are also history. You are also history. So spend time with your grandchildren, to share with them your knowledge, because lots of that knowledge they will not learn in school, but will be very, very important to their life and their future. So, grandparents, it's not over, it's beginning. You are important
The
to your
beginning.
child's education.
Thank you so much. And again, we keep in touch. All the best for you and
Thank you very much.
for all your project and all the beautiful work you do in the UK and around the world. And
Thank you.
Dr. Trevor, we keep in touch, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very, very much. Bye
You're
bye.
welcome. Bye bye. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you.